So I've been saying this really for a long, long time. I've always wondered this, and this came from some coaches I talked to even back when I moved into the area back in 2010, about why don't college football programs have scrimmages against other programs? Even more so, you have games in which this is how so-and-so makes money with their budget because they'll play a team and get paid $500,000 or even $1 million or $2 million to fill up a stadium. Deion Sanders, this is Deion on wanting somebody to come to Boulder for 3 days, kind of like a mini camp, like the Cowboys and the Rams or the Raiders or what they used to do, and even Cowboys and other teams would travel around the country during the training camp period to be able to hit somebody else, scrimmage somebody else, learn about somebody else and yourself. So Deion has this idea. To me, this is not new. This is something that makes sense. And Fran Brown then responded, hey, we will come to Boulder for 3 days, Fran Brown, Syracuse.
Yeah, I love the idea. And look, if it's going to be Colorado versus Syracuse, a team that you wouldn't schedule in your regular season or you don't have in your schedule, that's fun. We talked about it before the show. I also think it would be a great way to have your guarantee game for the FCS school. So instead of having your FCS school in the regular season, just have that event in the spring. Let's just use Texas, the state of Texas, as an example. Texas could play Tarleton. TCU could play SFA. Baylor could play Sam Houston. A&M could play Incarnate Word. Like all these kind of things, and you can have it be a fun game. It's competitive. It's different. I'm all for it. I know that there's an injury component, but I've seen plenty of spring. I've seen guys' careers end in spring games before playing against their own team. So I don't think there's that much of a difference. It allows you to be competitive. It allows it allows some fun for your fans. Yeah, it's better than what they're doing now across the board for the most part.
Yeah, I think kudos to Fran Brown for being so enthusiastic and responding and being another guy along with Deion who is really taking this bull by the horns.
Did you know that most calorie deficit calculators don't work? My dietitian recommended the Lasta to me, and it turned out to be the only one that got my calorie deficit right. Thanks to it, I lost 14 pounds in 1 week. Ready to kickstart your journey to healthy weight loss? Calculate your ideal calorie deficit using the Lasta app right now.
And trying to create something and make something happen. Obviously, a lot of people are keen on the idea of freshening things up and changing things up, and this is a solution, playing somebody different, scrimmaging against somebody different, or perhaps even doing a full-blown type of game. I don't know about all that, but I understand the sentiment. So I don't know. I guess everybody's kicking around ideas. We'll see where it all goes ultimately, but I think this is a nice start to trying to find new solutions to new problems, and kudos to Deion and Fran Brown for being so gung-ho and willing to go at each other and have some competition and not shy away from it, not be somebody who's wanting to not have a spring game because they're afraid of being watched by somebody or, being paranoid or whatever it is, even if those are valid concerns. These guys don't clearly care about that. They want to go out and play football and just get their teams better, which is what spring is supposed to be about. So I admire the willingness of both parties, and I know there's others that have similar ideas, so we'll see how many people get on board and whether or not this becomes, like everything else in college football, one idea gets put out there and then all of a sudden it's the trendy thing and everybody does it. So it wouldn't be surprising if this is deemed successful or a cool enough idea that everybody wants to jump on board and follow suit.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It is in this day and age with so much that has changed in the last 5 years. Why not look at something different, or why not look at other options? Again, I brought that up because just because I had an interview with it about it 12 years ago with 2 or 3 different college coaches, and all of them, especially those who were a part of the high school game at some point, they went, yeah, why not? High school teams in Texas get 2 scrimmages. Unless you're one of the schools that had spring drills or spring football, then you get 1. and it's right before the start of the year. It's always a pretty good idea, and so maybe that happens. And if Fran Brown and Deion can get that done, that would be absolutely awesome.
Look, my idea for FSU, who's not having a spring game this year, would be easy. Like, there's a school right across town, Florida A&M. Make it the battle for Tallahassee. Have the bands out there, all that stuff. That to me would be a fun spring game. Do that every year. You don't even have to get creative with it. You just know that every year FAM and FSU are going to play in the spring game and make it a yearly event. It's a cross town, like it's a block party for Tallahassee essentially. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, make some money out of it. You make money off of spring games. Most of the time, it's a pretty cheap ticket. Sometimes you just walk in the door.
I mean, it's a fun idea. I mean, they actually have to execute it, though. I don't think there's anything that's been put out there that says they'll be allowed to actually do something like this. But, Fran Brown says they'll come there for 3 days, and it sounds like a full-blown, like, kind of crossover training camp, mini camp type experience as you see in the NFL. And I think people have already taken the idea and ran with it to the point of now talking about, full-blown spring game contest and whatever. I mean, they got to get the first part of this out there before they go and do the rest of it. But it's good to see some excitement around it, and good to see people trying to be creative and come up with solutions to, problems, however big or small they may be. So, again, kudos to Deion for putting it out there, and to Fran Brown for quickly responding and being up for the challenge. And so we'll see if they actually get to, actually do something like this at some point.
I don't know if it's an NCAA rule. I don't know if there's any reason why you can't. You would think that this would have been thought of earlier, but maybe there's something that keeps people or teams or programs from doing this.
From the Football Scoop article, it says the NCAA hasn't allowed spring exhibitions among teams, though they do allow preseason men's basketball, baseball, some other sports, but they haven't done that for football. So, again, that's why I'm saying they would have to get a little bit further than just saying we're going to do it and then they just do it. You got to actually, I think, probably go through some clearing tape to make sure that that's all on the up and up and that's doable for everybody and up to the rules and everything. But I don't see why they'd be too resistant to that, so we'll see.
All right, and one of the other things, of course, is you mentioned basketball. Remember how they started having these secret scrimmages? Like Baylor would play A&M, or Texas Tech would play Oklahoma State, or maybe not that, but they were having these
secret Drew Boys scrimmage.
Now it's almost like commonplace. Everybody knows about it, and the word secret doesn't even need to be used anymore.